Hey sis, hey, this is your girl Kristen checking in for another episode of Her Steps Are Ordered podcast. Sis, welcome. First, before we start this episode, I'd like to take some time to just shout out the supporters. I've been seeing the numbers increase with our viewing. I've checked my analytics. I try not to get into the numbers. I'm not really big on numbers. I just want to make sure that people are hearing, what God is speaking, that women are being encouraged, that women are being understood to a point of understanding that they have a purpose, they have a call, or they have an assignment on their life that still needs to be fulfilled in spite of their past. But I just want to take some time to shout out to the supporters, on social media, here on YouTube, and also on Facebook. I just want to thank you for taking the time out to listen, to tap in, to see what it is that Her Steps Are Ordered podcast is about. And, it's just about encouraging women, encouraging growth in the Lord, encouraging your relationship in God, encouraging drawing from the word of God, encouraging just standing on the word and in faith in this world that we live in today. And, I'm big on womanhood. I'm big on pouring into just people in general. But I just want to take some time to say thank you. So now that the preliminaries are out of the way, sis, I just want to take some time to talk about today's topic. And today's topic is super, I want to say special, because time is something that we don't get back. So today, if you haven't guessed, we're talking about the gift of time. We're talking about the importance of time, because there are different seasons that you go through in life where you may feel stagnant. You may feel as though your time has been wasted. You may feel as though you're doing a repetitive thing. You're going through a repetitive cycle and you still don't see a change. But I want to encourage you here in this episode. I want to encourage you because there is no time that is wasted. But if you get to a point in your life where you look back on your time that you spent, and you see the currency of your life, you see, okay, Lord, I don't see where I've placed my time right. I thank God that he still gives us an extension of time here to either get ourselves right with him, in relationship with him, but not only that, also focus our time on being more intentional with our family, intentional with our loved ones, intentional on the things that matter to God and what he wants us to focus on. Life can throw you some curveballs. Life could be life, and like, truth be told, I remember I was on the phone with my dad a couple weeks ago, and him and I were talking, and he was laughing at me hard. Like, he was like laughing because I remember when my siblings and I were growing up. I'm the oldest of 4 total. And I remember when specifically me and my brother, we used to talk about it all the time. We used to say, man, I can't wait till I grow up. I can't wait till I get grown and get out of this house. And my parents would just look at us like, and they would be chuckling. They'd be like, okay, y'all can wait. Y'all is in a rush. And now that I'm grown, I have a family of my own. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I have different things. I wear different hats. I have so many things going on. I was talking to my dad and he was laughing at me on the phone. I was like, Dad, I said, adulthood is ghetto. I said, it's ghetto over here. It's ghetto. I said, but the truth is, I would not go back. I would not go back, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But it just made me think about how important it is to literally just soak in, stay in the moment of the season you're in, stay in the time that you're in, and just grow from it, learn from it, progress from it, learn a lesson from it, wherever the amount of time that you're in right then and there. And now that I look back, I'm like, man, I rushed like to adulthood, and everything seems like a blur, from like school age to elementary, from high school. I remember walking the hallways and listening to music and hanging out with friends, and now adulthood is just, everything else was like a glimpse. And when you get to adulthood, you're like, man, everything kind of hits you full circle, not in like a negative way, but it hits you full circle where sometimes you can be in a moment and you can hear a song, maybe something that you heard when you were just a teenager or a kid, or you see like a cartoon that you used to watch and you're like, man, the time just flew by. You're like, goodness. And then you look back at your high school graduation year and you're like, man, it's been like 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years already. And I'm just like, man, I feel old. And it's funny when you look back on the time and you realize how you either took advantage of it when you were in it, or you either didn't live it, or you just kind of rushed through that phase to get to the next phase. And the reason why time is so important and precious is because we don't get it back, for one, but it's also important, precious, and it's the epitome of time. It's just a blessing. Because when you get older, the more you realize how intentional you should be with your time, the more you realize how important you should spend the areas that you should spend your time in, whether it be with your children, whether it be with your spouse, doing things that you love to do. And then you realize that the older you get, you feel like you have less time. You feel like the months go by faster, the weeks go by faster, the days go by quicker, the years go by quicker. And you're just, before you know it, you're looking and you're like, oh my goodness, where time flies. Like, time goes by so fast. And it's important as you get older, even though sometimes you have to realize that even when you're in a season where it may feel as though you're being in a season of stillness, or you feel like you're doing everything you can and nothing is moving in your career, in your business, in your friendships, relationships, what have you, you have to understand and take a moment to say, Lord, what are you trying to show me in this season? What lesson are you trying to show me? What do you want me to see in this space of time right now that I'm in? Instead of me trying to rush this season, get through this season, what is it that you want me to take in? What is it that you want me to learn? These are some questions that you need to ask the Lord, because a lot of times in your younger years, and even now, like I'm in my 30s, but when I was in my 20s, I've always been like real deep anyway, but you have to get to a point of taking some time to just draw back, look and assess things. I'm not saying you have to be deep and you have to really think that there is something more than what it is going on in a season that you're in. But if you're in a period of stillness, or you feel like you're in a period of stagnancy, ask God, like, Lord, what are you trying to show me? How are you trying to grow me? How are you trying to hide me in plain sight right now? Because there may be some things that you want to move that necessarily aren't moving the way you thought they should move. But the Lord's timing is better than ours. And sometimes we have to understand that God's timing is not our timing. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. And I think sometimes you think that, when you are in a relationship with God and you are doing, I'm not saying crossing every T, dotting every I. We're not perfect people, but we are striving to be who God has called us to be, so that we can go to eternal life with him. But at the same time, we have to understand that we're not exempt from, a season of stillness, because God sees things that we don't see. God's in eternity. We're in time, which is here on earth. So those are two different, dispensations. Like, you have to understand that God's timing is way different than ours. So what we may think we're ready for, or we're ready for a season change, we say, Lord, I learned my lesson already. I've been through enough. And God is saying, look, there's still some areas where you need to be tried. There's still some areas where you need to rest, and you need to trust me, and you need to be developed, and you need to be hidden, or you feel like you're buried, or you feel like you're unseen because of the time. All this time has passed. All of this time you've invested in something. All of this time you have You have done everything that you can, but sometimes there is something that the Lord may necessarily want you to wait. As you are waiting, do not get weary in well doing, because a lot of times you can look at your current season and the math may not be mathing in a sense. What do I mean? I mean that how we see our life, and the picture we see our life should specifically be in this way. We should be further. We should be here. We should be further than this because we've been doing this thing for years, or we've been doing this thing for a while now. Sometimes how we see things is not how God sees them for us. And a lot of times you have to learn to be content in the season that you're in, and learn to just rest in God, rest in his promises, rest in his will being done, because God's will is always greater than our own will. God's will is greater than our own will. I will say that again. God's will is always greater than our own will. We can always want things. We can have things or want things to be specifically done, or we can think and work towards something so hard. We can put so much effort into things, and we can want things to work out. But at the same time, God's plans are always greater than ours. So the little finite mind that we have, and our picture and our plans that we wrote down, and the things that we want done, or the things that we want to see manifested in our life, that for God to do, God normally always exceeds expectation. So if you're in a season where you feel like you're stagnant, if you're in a season where you feel like I haven't done enough, God, or I feel like I should be further, or God, when am I going to get my breakthrough? Understand and know that God's timing is greater. But the thing about it is, have you ever heard the saying that he's never late, but he's always right on time? He may not come when you want him, as the song says, but he'll be there right on time. That's the type of God that we serve. We serve a God that knows exactly when to move. And he is not moved by our feelings. He's moved by our faith. And sometimes you could have a lot of faith, but deep down, you could say you have a lot of faith, but deep down, God knows everything. He knows our heart. He knows our intentions. He knows our very thoughts. He knows the hairs that are numbered on our head. The Lord knows us through and through. So you can have a lot of ambition. You can have a lot of drive. You could be purpose driven. You can do so many things. You can be involved in so many things and connected to so many things. And God, at the end of the day, he's going to move when he sees fit. Sometimes it's good to also check your heart posture. We have to examine ourselves. We have to check our heart posture and say, Lord, is this something that I'm doing literally out of just your will? Is this something that I'm doing, or is what I'm seeking from you, what I've been praying for, what I've been, standing in the gap for, what I've been seeking your face for? Is this something that you even want me to be a part of? Is this something that you want me to do? Or sometimes you could be waiting and you feel like it's taking forever, because God is still shaping and molding you. He's still doing a work within us sometimes. And sometimes just because we want some things does not necessarily mean that God has to move when we want him to. We serve a God where he could answer anything. He can answer any prayer, any need today, right now, with a quickness. That's the God that we serve. But he's not going to just be moved off of, our tears, or all the time moved off of our tears, or moved off of our emotions or our feelings, or even sometimes our anger, because of how long we've been standing in a season. Just because sometimes we've been in a season for a long time doesn't mean that it's supposed to change eventually. Of course, we know that sooner or later, God is going to shift some things. He's going to turn some things. He's going to move some things in your life. But you have to understand that with time, there is something that the Lord is teaching us. He's stretching us in. He's stretching us in a season of time. He's stretching us to develop our character sometimes. He's stretching us to develop a right spirit within. He's stretching us to develop the right love. He's stretching us to love better. He's stretching us to stop holding the grudges. He's stretching us to have more forgiveness in our life. He's stretching us in different areas, because the very thing that you're praying for, you may not be even prepared for. Sometimes I've even had to ask myself that question. I said, Lord, I asked myself, and I was like, am I even prepared? Are you even prepared for the season that you're praying for? Are you prepared for the shift in your life? Are you prepared? Is your heart posture right? Are you within right standing with God? And I don't mean just like you got to have everything together in that point, but are you prepared for what you're about, the door, the open door, the thing that you're about to walk through? Because a lot of times God will sometimes even allow you in seasons. He will open the door in seasons of your life and say, oh, my daughter, my son, they've been praying for this. And he will open the door, and you walk through the door, and it doesn't work out the way you thought it or you had planned, because we weren't necessarily ready, And the Lord knows when we're ready as his children. He knows when we're ready to walk through a thing. He knows when he's ready to open the door. And sometimes he's trying our spirit. He's testing our faith in situations where we feel like we've been standing in the need forever. He's testing your faith in seasons where, you feel like God has been developing your character forever, but really, is your character really developed the way it should be? These are some things that we have to consider with time. Just because we're looking at the amount of months, amount of years, amount of days, or amount of even season changes we've been through, waiting on a thing, does not necessarily mean that it's going to move God. God's timing is always right. And sometimes we have to learn how to be content in the season that we're in. Maybe it's something that God wants us to understand. Maybe God wants you to understand that, look, you may not be exactly where you think you should be, but if you look around, he's provided for you in every sense. He's created provision for you in every area. He's made resources for you. And there's never been a day that you went without anything, without food, without clothing, without water, without transportation, without having a roof over your head, these things, without having a job or a business or some type of resource of income to sustain you. And then you have to look at life that way. You have to learn how to be content in the season, in every season, even if it could be the hardest season of your life, even if it could be the most stretching season of your life, even if it can most be the most broken season of your life, the hurtful season of your life, where it may be a season of healing that you're going through, and you think that you're never going to come out of that thing. You think that, oh Lord, I've been hurt in the most drastic way, or I've lost a loved one, or I've experienced these things. But God is always with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He's with us through every season, through every trial, through every situation, even through the stretching. He's with you. He's with us through the stretching. He's with us through the adversity. He's with us through, even through the pain, through the anger, through the hurt, the many different things that we go through. He is with us through every season. He has never left you. You have to understand that God has never left you. He has never left you, even though you feel like you may be inadequate, even though you feel like you may not be enough, even though you feel like, time has shown you really not much of anything. You feel like you've put a lot of time into a career, a job, a business, what have you. Time is something that you have to learn to govern. I don't mean govern like in a strict way, but I mean, really hold that thing. Really understand that your time is important. Pay attention to the things that are taking away from your time. Pay attention to where you put your intention with your time. Pay attention to it, because I'm telling you, at the end of the day, when you look back on your life and you realize you don't have very much time, because you spent so much time worrying, you spent so much time doubting, you spent so much time comparing, you spent so much time consuming other things that are not like God, that have distracted you from his will for your life, or either that have taken away from you understanding the sense of contentment in the season that you're in. Because that's what the enemy will do. He will make you think that time is not important, that you can just waste away your years. You can just waste away your time doing things that don't even please God, or doing things that don't even equate to, your worth or your purpose, or what have you. You say, oh, I'm in my 20s, I got time. Then you get to your 30s. I'm in my 30s, I'm still young, I got time. Then you're in your 40s. I'm in my 40s, I'm still young, I got time. We do not know how much time we have, but it's important to cherish the time that you do. Do the things that you love with your time. Yes, if you have to work, because we have to make a living. Yes, if you have to have a business because you have to have a source of income. But make sure you spend time with your loved ones. Make sure you spend time doing the things that you love. Make sure you spend time doing things according to your purpose in God's will that He has assigned you to. Make sure you spend your time, with others, with people, encouraging, pouring into people. Make sure you spend time doing the things that you love. I'm telling you, because you never know. I've been like, I've heard other people talk like in their older years, and, family members talk about how, especially if they're an older generation, they're in their 60s, 70s. I've heard them talk, and, they talk about what they wish they'd done with their time, or they wish they had more time to do this. Do it. If it's not outside of the will of God, if it's not outside of the will of God, and, what His word says, and it's something that you enjoy doing, like painting, I don't know, drawing, anything, making jewelry, anything that you enjoy doing, writing poetry, writing a book, doing these things, pouring into the younger generation, helping them, teaching if you teach, sing if you sing, all the many different things. Because when you look back at your life, you got to understand that time is really currency. The time that you spend is currency. Spend it in the right places, sis. Spend it in the right places. And I want to leave you with I don't know if it's a quote or what have you, that I had posted yesterday evening on my Facebook page. But it was just a thought that I had in it, and I really thought it needed to be shared. So I want to share this note to self with you. And it was a note to myself, but it reads, note to self, time is so precious. Spend it on loving instead of hating. Spend it on forgiveness instead of grudges. Spend it on intention instead of distraction. Spend it on living instead of proving. Spend it on peace instead of worry. Spend it on courage instead of fear. Time goes by so fast. You don't get it back. And when you realize how much you've spent, you become grateful for the time you currently have. The currency of your life shows from how you spend your time. Spend it on what matters most. I want to leave you with that, sis. Spend it on what matters most. Don't spend it on worrying. Don't spend it on, fearing. Don't spend it on worrying about trying to reach something that maybe God doesn't even have for you in this season. Don't waste your time and a moment on wishing you were further, even though you've put the time where you needed to put it, where it was supposed to be put. Think about it as if God has you in a season right now where you are hidden. Not hidden in a sense of punishment, not hidden in a sense of, being buried, but hidden because He's still stretching you. He's still processing you. He's still growing you. He's still fine-tuning and refining some things within. I love you, sis. Be blessed. Until next time, remember, we are all her, healing, evolving, and rising with God leading. Bye-bye.